Welcome to The Explainer. I am so pumped to have you here today because we are diving into a truly bizarre, honestly fascinating intersection of biology and social norms. We usually think of cultural rules as things created entirely by history, tradition, or shared values. But what happens when a society's rules are actually dictated by a widespread biological trait? Today, we're exploring the biology and sociology of scent in Japan. We'll see how a simple physical reality creates strict social pressures and how those strict pressures, well, they end up creating some truly unexpected and honestly absurd subcultures. So buckle up, because this is a perfect example of how one tiny biological detail can literally shape the everyday experience of millions of people. Now, I want to start off with a question that might sound kind of ridiculous. Do you know what deodorant is? I mean, if you're from a Western country, you're probably rolling your eyes right now. Like, obviously. It's a massive aisle in every pharmacy, and it's totally baked into your morning routine. You wake up, brush your teeth, swipe on the deodorant. It is a completely unquestioned pillar of daily hygiene. But I really want to use this to challenge a universal Western assumption right out of the gate. We just assume that everyone everywhere relies on this product to navigate social interactions. But what if that entirely depends on, basically, a geographic and biological lottery? Well, get this, most Japanese people don't even know what deodorant is. No way, right? It sounds crazy, but it's a verifiable fact drawn from our source material today. You could literally walk up to someone on the street in Tokyo, ask about their go-to brand of deodorant, and you might just get a blank stare in return. And the reason for this is absolutely not about a lack of hygiene. Actually, it's the exact opposite. It's because in Japan, a massive portion of the population naturally just doesn't have a strong extra smell. They literally don't produce the kind of body odor that necessitates rolling a chemical stick under their arms every single day. Their biological baseline is fundamentally different from what we'd consider the norm in the West. Think about how profound that is for a second. When the vast majority of a population naturally lacks a specific physical trait, in this case noticeable body odor, the entire society is built around that absence. You don't build a massive industry to solve a problem that simply doesn't exist for most of your citizens. You don't have aggressive marketing campaigns making people feel insecure about their natural scent, because, well, that natural scent is essentially neutral. This widespread biological trait acts as the invisible foundation for how people interact, how close they stand to one another, and what they expect when they step out their front doors. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The deodorant mystery, a biological baseline.
Moving right along to Section 2, defining Waiga, the vocabulary of odor.
So when a society has a dominant biological baseline, the outliers, the folks who just don't fit that baseline, they inevitably stand out. And when something stands out, society gives it a name. Language is honestly one of our absolute best tools for understanding how a culture categorizes its people. If you want to know what a society cares about, look at the highly specific words they invent to describe things. And here is the word they use in Japan, waiga. It basically translates to an odor issue. Notice how incredibly clinical and specific that sounds? It's not just a passing comment about someone needing a shower. It is a categorized, recognized condition. Having a specific clinical term like this really highlights the cultural perception of body odor over there. It frames it as an anomaly, an issue to be addressed, rather than just a normal variation of the human experience. When you have a word like waiga, you're essentially drawing a hard line in the sand between the biological norm and the biological exception. So the crucial takeaway here is that language actually cements the biological reality into a cultural rule. Which brings us to Section 3, the social spotlight, rarity and stigma. Okay, so we're shifting gears now from the pure biology of scent to the intense societal impact it carries. In literally any culture, rarity creates visibility. Think about it. If everyone in a room is wearing red, the one person wearing blue becomes the total focal point. But when that rarity is tied to something super deeply personal, like scent, that visibility quickly morphs into stigma. We're going to look at the social math of how this works, and why having waiga in a society that doesn't even know what deodorant is can be such a heavy, heavy burden. I want to walk you through this cause and effect funnel to show you exactly how a biological norm transforms into strict social pressure. Step 1, we start with the natural biological lack of odor across the vast majority of the population. Step 2, because of that, there is a total lack of everyday exposure. People just aren't used to smelling body odor on their morning commute or in the office. Their noses aren't desensitized to it like ours might be in the West. And that leads us directly to Step 3, extreme social visibility. When the unexpected happens, when someone with waiga enters the room, it triggers an immediate, highly noticeable reaction. It's basically a perfect storm where biological rarity creates this intense social spotlight. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrasting dynamic at play here. Less common in everyday life versus more obvious when it happens. It is a simple, completely undeniable equation. Because odor issues are so rare in Japan, people's tolerance and habituation to those scents are incredibly low. When someone does have a noticeable odor, it becomes glaringly obvious. They tend to stand out socially, and definitely not in a way that they want to. They aren't just dealing with their own biology anymore. They're dealing with the collective, unaccustomed senses of literally everyone around them.
Now, I want you to imagine navigating this dynamic in these high-stakes public settings: schools, trains, workplaces. Picture the Tokyo subway system during rush hour. People packed shoulder to shoulder, literally squeezed together in incredibly close proximity. Or a super quiet, structured classroom, or a highly professional workplace. These are environments where harmony and blending in are often absolutely crucial. In these crowded public spaces, the compounding social stigma becomes intensely real. I mean, an odor issue isn't exactly something you can easily hide under a heavy coat. In a society that is super strict about scent, standing out in these environments can cause severe social anxiety and isolation. The biological reality becomes a really heavy social reality.
But then we get to Section 4, Room for the Absurd, Fetishizing the Taboo.
Human culture is never just a straight line, is it? We are now hitting the very bottom of the funnel where things get, well, delightfully weird. See, whenever a society creates incredibly strict, rigid rules about what is acceptable and what is stigmatized, it almost always creates a shadow market for the exact opposite. When something is pushed to the fringes and deemed a complete taboo, a certain subset of people will inevitably find it fascinating. Now, what's really interesting about this is that a Japanese idol once charged fans for, quote, odor interaction. Just let that sink in for a second. Here we have a culture that has literally coined a medical-sounding term for body odor, where a natural scent can make you a social outcast on a train, and yet there is a Japanese idol who successfully monetized that exact same trait. Fans actually paid hard-earned money to interact with a scent that society at large tells them they should be totally disgusted by. It is the ultimate irony. It shows that no matter how strictly a culture tries to police a biological reality, human curiosity and the allure of the taboo will always find a way to flip the script.
Which leaves us with this final, frankly beautiful contradiction to ponder. How does a society super strict about scent still create a lane for the completely absurd? It's a huge testament to the complex, deeply contradictory nature of human beings. We build these elaborate social rules based on basic biology, we stigmatize the folks who fall outside the norm, and then, in the very same breath, some of us turn right around and fetishize the exact thing we banned. It's wild. I really want you to think about what invisible biological baselines might be shaping the unspoken rules of your own society today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the everyday, and I'll see you next time.